Welcome to another episode of OG55. We got the Italiano. We got Mr. Seymour Duck in the house. We're talking Disney Succession. We're talking Comcast earnings. We have a lot to discuss today on this episode of OG55. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another fantastic episode here on OG55. We got Mr. Seymour Duck and the Italiano. We're talking Comcast earnings. We're talking, what else are we talking about? Comcast earnings, and we're talking about Disney CEO succession. I drew a blank for a second. But before we get started, George, where can everybody find you on social media?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There he is. And the one and only Mr. Seymour Duck is in the house. Mr. Duck, welcome back, sir.
Hello, and thank you for inviting me again and nerd out with you guys, especially when it's about numbers and corporate talk. I'm always liking that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Always a good time having you on the show, Seymour. Always fun talking to you in the DMs too. Really good time. But Seymour, if you can let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, you can find me on X at Mr. Seymour Duck, as well as Instagram and Threads, and also at MrDuck.social for Blue Sky.
There he is. There it is. MrDuck.social on Blue Sky. Yeah. So let's dive right in, fellas, to the festivities, shall we? First up to bat is Disney CEO succession. This is from Wrap Pro. It's behind a paywall, but we'll do what we can with it. It says here, Disney succession plan. Who's in and who's out in the race to rule the Magic Kingdom? Following Disney's announcement that a Bob Iger successor will be chosen in 2026, the Wrap breaks down the front runners. Now, this is kind of interesting. It says here the hunt for a successor to Disney CEO Bob Iger is heating up after the entertainment giant appointed former Morgan Stanley CEO James Gorman. I want to talk to you about that, Seymour, actually. It's a very interesting dynamic in this whole thing. Morgan Stanley CEO James Gorman as chairman of the Disney board this week, confirming that a new CEO would be appointed in early 2026, so about a year from now. The race, as it currently stands, seems to be narrowing on an executive from Disney's creative ranks, which means the co-chairs of Disney's entertainment, Dana Walden and Alan Bergman, have an early lead. Walden, who clearly has the leading position, would be Disney's first female CEO in its 101-year history. Okay. It says here, an individual with knowledge of Iger's thinking told The Wrap earlier this month that former executives Tom Staggs and Kevin Mayer are not seen. Okay. I want to emphasize that as succession candidates. That's, unfortunate, but we'll get into that. But Mr. Seymour Duck, what are your thoughts? Well, you know what? Let's start off with James Gorman, because we got a question last night on the live show about James Gorman coming from Morgan Stanley. This is a creative company. What are your thoughts on him kind of leading, being, chairman of the Disney board?
He's better than Kareem Daniel.
Yeah.
You said that on the live show. That was last night.
Morgan, James Gorman, he has a really good background. He actually came from Merrill Lynch and also McKinsey & Company, and a lot of great CEOs who've done really well within the industry came from McKinsey & Company, and that's including, for example, the current CEO of Google. So a lot of these smart people have came from that company and done really well. And right now, he has the background for this, and he understands business, and he's a great choice to be the chairman of the board for Disney going forward, because they have spent too much money on things that is not needed. Too much, now they're focusing on quality versus quantity, and going forward with Disney Plus and all the costs that you need to do, it makes sense to get someone like him to be on the board to understand the numbers. And I think this is a great position. A lot of people didn't like the previous chairman of the board, for a lot of the mistakes he's been doing. The one from Nike, the ex-CEO from Nike. Unfortunately, a lot of people didn't like it when he was with Bob Chapek, and he was pushing Bob Chapek even during the Florida, right, with the bill that everyone was complaining about. He was the one who's pushing. He was the one who was pushing Chapek to say something, and that was the downfall for Disney for a lot of the things. And the fight for Ron DeSantis, right? It created a fiasco for the whole company, and it was him. He was the one in charge pushing that. And now we're getting someone who's more business centric, without any of the politics around it. And I like this. It's a good choice because it's someone who, you're getting the ex CEO of Morgan Stanley. Like, that's the top of the line there, and I like it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And a lot of Disney fans get all wrapped up in the fact that he's, like he comes from like a banking background and this, that, and the other. And it's like a lot of fans need to kind of get off of this mentality that just because someone comes from a banking background or fill in the blank background means that they automatically will not understand Disney, Oh,
and the ironic part, the people who are like against James Gorman are the same people who are saying, "Oh, I was for Nelson Peltz," even though he's in the same background, which is far worse because he's one of those rich billionaires that would scrape bottom of the barrel for profits. You don't want Nelson Peltz, but apparently Nelson Peltz is better than James Gorman, and I'm like, what?
Right, exactly. It's very, very, very selective, right? Very double standardy, to say the least. So it's interesting to see how this is all going to shake out. George, your thoughts? I mean, Morgan Stanley CEO, he's the chairman of the Disney board as of
and
a few days
in
ago.
charge of the successor committee.
Oh, the successor. Okay. Okay. So that's interesting. Okay, so he's just in charge of the successor committee, not chairman of the board?
No, both.
Oh, both.
He's doing both.
Oh.
He's doing both. So because he's the one previously who found his successor for the CEO that's really doing really good, and I think that will bring a good cause for Disney now for bringing the next CEO.
Yeah, I really think that they're getting their ducks lined up in a row, no pun intended. That they have to have like a strategy moving forward than just trying to like pick a name out of a hat, so to speak. And it's like, okay, you're the next CEO. I think they really have to work hard so the events that occurred of what happened the last time in 2020 doesn't occur moving forth once Iger steps down yet again as CEO, because this is the last and final time. And I really don't think that Iger is going to want his name on someone attached that will kind of have a repetitive kind of falter that happened when he chose Chapek, right, because he's not going to have another chance to come back and fix it. And it was a big fix to do. I mean, they're still trying to kind of get out of things of like what has been kind of
the mess created,
not so good, decision making internally within the company. So I feel like there's like a lot of shakeups, a lot of job positions switched around, a lot of layoffs and what have you, cost cuts. And I think that this is a good direction in which I think Disney is taking this very serious, that whoever is Iger's successor moving forward has to know Disney, but just because if they know Disney doesn't necessarily mean they have to actually come from the company itself.
Right.
Like, as long as they know business, they know corporate, they know how to run that side, but also learn the adaptation of the Disney way. Just like Eisner and Wells, they both came in from Paramount and Warner. They weren't in Disney, but they adapted to the Disney way just by knowing their knowledge of coming from those other companies. So if it happened before, it definitely can happen again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You don't have to be a Disney lifer to be successful at Disney. Even on the creative front, if I was going to use an example, I mean, look at someone like Howard Ashman. He came from a Broadway background, and he came in and he ended up being a Disney legend. I mean, the work he did I mean, even for that short amount of time, changed the company forever. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't like a Disney lifer that was there for like 20 years or this, that, and the other. He came in from the outside. He came in, he shook things up. He understood the brand, right? So you can absolutely come in as an outsider and kind of, change things up in a good way. Like you said, George, you don't have to be a Disney lifer within the company to really understand what makes Disney Disney. And we've seen it over and over again, like you were saying with Michael Eisner and Frank Wells. That's a great example. Now it says here that an individual with knowledge of Iger's thinking told the Wrap earlier this month that the former executives Tom Staggs and Kevin Meyer are not seen as candidates. What are your thoughts on that, Seymour?
Unfortunately, it's sad news because I was hoping for that. I had high hopes. But the alternative is not bad. It's actually really, I took some time and actually looked into it, and I was like, because we're going to talk about it soon. Like for example, Dana Walden. It's actually the right pick. After I looked at it and I expanded my window and I looked further out, they have the experience outside from Disney, and I think it's really good. For example, like Dana Walden, I would have those two, but you can't always have what you want, right?
True. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Sometimes, and sometimes even what you want doesn't always end up being the best option, right? Like sometimes we get something that's different and it ends up working out even better. You never know, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that whole thing shakes out.
And they have their own companies they need to focus on. And if Disney ever wanted them to become CEOs, most likely they would have to buy that company out. And that's more money and more headaches for Disney. They would have to probably put in debt to buy the company because they don't have the cash flows right now to buy it because it's that big. I mean, like if you're getting Coco Melon, that's not cheap.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's a great point. Like we've talked about it a lot on this channel where like in order to get Staggs and Meyer, you would likely have to buy Candle Media. So right now when Disney's trying to cut costs and get leaner, right? Do you want to do that? Is that the best option? When you have, pretty capable people in-house right now, So it's a great point. Seymour. Now it says here, the race as it currently stands seems to be narrowing on an executive from Disney's creative ranks, which means the co-chairs of Disney Entertainment, Dana Walden and Alan Bergman, have the early lead. Okay, it says that Walden, who clearly has the leading position, would be Disney's first female CEO in its 101-year history. Now, this surprised me, just because I kind of have seen it, and look, I've made no bones about it. I don't think, and it's nothing against Josh as a person. I just don't think we should have a theme park guy or gal. Really, it doesn't matter. Someone from the theme parks running the studio. I mean, running the company right now. I just think that the studio side of everything in Hollywood right now is so turbulent. You can't have someone who's not really that familiar with the studio end of it to go in there and try to run that. I think it's super risky. The theme parks are a stable business and they can weather this like storm a lot better. Hollywood and the studio side, it's so turbulent and there's been a seismic shift with streaming and what have you that you need someone in there that really knows Hollywood inside and out. So with that said, though, it's kind of been between Dana and Josh, right? So the fact that this article from the Wrap is saying they're hearing it's actually right now the two top contenders are Dana Walden and Alan Bergman. And Alan Bergman, I mean, he's not really even on my radar. I know technically he's in, consideration, but I never really, I don't know. I mean, and maybe I'm kind of underestimating him, but I never really considered him
especially because when you saw Iger like at Disneyland Paris or at the award ceremonies, like at the Academy Awards and the Emmys and the Grammys and what have you, he always had Walden and DeMauro by his side. You didn't really think to paint a picture of Alan Bergman, but now that they're saying he's in the early lead of the race with Walden, it's like, okay, that's like, because that caught me off guard. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But it does make sense in a way where someone else would be over DeMauro, because I too agree with you, OG. I feel like DeMauro is not the right fit to run the whole entire company as a whole. I mean, it's taking this amount of time for him to just kind of stand up on his own 2 feet with the parks. Now, to his credit, I do know there was a lot of, hard times, moving forward from the pandemic and the shakeup of the company, so to speak. So it wasn't really a good time for anybody's position. So I can give him a little bit of slack on that, but I just feel like it's all about execution, and I feel like, again, nothing against Josh as a person, but I just feel like that of how I think he would run things. I just don't think that he is capable of running the entire company as a whole.
I just don't think he's the right choice, based on the candidates that we have in front of us right now, assuming there's not like a surprise candidate that just comes in and just takes it. I think it's Dana's to lose. I really do. I think she's the one. I think she kind of has the chops. I understand a lot of people don't like her, because she's political. Same people, though, have no problem with Elon being political, which has nothing. He can run Tesla and be all political all he wants, but for some reason Dana can't. I don't know. It's a double standard out there for sure, but it'll be kind of interesting to see how this whole thing shakes out. But I didn't ask you, George, what was your take on the Tom Staggs news? I know you're a big Staggs fan too.
Yes, I am. I mean, from the very beginning, like Tom Staggs got the short end of the stick when he was supposed to become CEO. Once Iger would have stepped down, he kind of got blindsided by the board on that, and he decided to walk. Which, again, I don't necessarily blame him, but under the circumstances of right now, as much as I would love Staggs to step in as CEO, I think that he would do really well. And again, especially as a dual partnership with Meyer, I think that would really work out well, because again, the company was founded on a dueling partnership with Walt and his brother Roy, and then again with Eisner and Wells. So I think Staggs and Meyer would have been a great fit. But I do understand the fact that if Disney is cost cutting, to get Staggs now, it's going to come with an extra price tag to it. And there's going to be a lot of red and yellow tape with that. And I just don't think that Disney is in a position right now to be spending on, I don't want to say unnecessary purchases, because as I said, I think Staggs would do great. But if they do have other candidates that can work out and fit the bill for CEO, and they could save money in the process, then that's the route Disney's going to go.
Right. And you have Staggs and Meyer right now hired on as consultants, I believe, for their entertainment division or whatever. You can still have that relationship with them. You still have them being consultants and advisory roles from the outside. So you're not necessarily losing them if you don't choose them to be this next CEO. So, it's kind of interesting. But, the races. Oh, go ahead, Seymour. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, and also Kevin Meyer hasn't had the greatest track record after Disney. Like, he had a fiasco with TikTok. He was like the CEO for less than 4 months for TikTok, and then after he stepped down because he couldn't take the notion that the U.S. government wanted to take TikTok down, and because of China and everything, he left within less than 4 months. And then him and Tom Staggs had a SPAC where both of them, funded money so they can get companies to come in, take that money, and they become a public company. And they had like a triple merger with the SPAC, Beachbody, and My Fitness Holdings. And they were the co-chairs and co-CEOs for that company. But then they resigned a year later after as well. And that company is now like worth 10 cents in the dollar before when they went public. They're not doing the greatest. So, and I heard Kendall Media is not doing great either, except for Coco Melon. But like a lot of the stuff I heard from that is not doing well. And so far, they're not having a great track record. Maybe Disney's looking into that and seeing like, okay, maybe, after you left Disney, we're seeing all this stuff. Maybe we need someone with a better track record.
That's a great point that you bring up, Seymour, because as fans and spectators from the outside, there's a lot of stuff that we're not necessarily privy to and things like that on the inside, where we're looking at it going, oh, why wouldn't Bob Iger and the board just get those two guys, But like you were saying, there's a lot of stuff that they're seeing that, like, like you were saying with how Kendall Media is doing, and there's various factors involved that they're taking into consideration here. So that's fascinating. Yeah. It's interesting that Oh, well, the TikTok thing too was a Kevin Meyer thing. That was kind of weird. He was like CEO of TikTok for like 6 months or something weird, right?
Yeah, less
So,
than 4 months, and then because of China, they're like, and the U.S. fighting and saying you have to sell the U.S. operations, and they're like, and he's like, no, I'm not dealing with this, and left.
wild, absolutely wild. All right, guys.
Imagine if you were Disney though, and you were the CEO, and you were in that predicament, you would just leave. That's that's not a good sign of a CEO, right? And he did that twice already with Tom Staggs. I look, I'm not here to bash them because those were my picks, but not everyone's perfect, and they had their faults during CEOs at different companies as well.
Yeah. No, well said. Well said. Absolutely. And that's important to look into, because when we choose a candidate for CEO, we have to look at the whole thing, the holistic whole, like, each person is going to have their pros and cons, and for him, Meyer does have quite a few cons, so definitely a thing that the board, I'm sure, is considering, Now, let's go ahead and pivot a little bit right now to Comcast. They recently had.
I wanted to talk about Dana Walden a little bit more.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, because we were talking about the CEOs and picks, and why I think she's actually a great choice for the CEO for Disney now. Because I was thinking about it, and I was thinking like, okay, I want someone from the outside. I want someone with a different perspective to go for Disney for the future, because Disney is changing into a completely different company, especially moving into general entertainment and Hulu and everything being built into the company as its brand. You know, especially when they bought Fox and she came from Fox, that's like the perfect pick. It happened exactly how they did with ABC. They bought ABC. Bob Iger was there, and now they integrated ABC into the company. And now he's CEO. I feel like this is the same thing almost. And she was really good at Fox. She was she was the chairman and CEO of Fox Television, Fox Broadcasting Company, 20th Century Fox, Fox 21 Television Studio, Fox Consumer Products. She was basically anything entertainment for Fox. That was her. Family Guy, Simpsons, Futurama, all of that, Hell's Kitchen, all of that was Dana Walden.
Well, and all these like grifters and stuff, right? That we the grifters, right? Complain about her for her politics, but she worked under Rupert Murdoch, who loved her. It's like, come on, and he's not exactly a hardcore lefty. But go ahead, Seymour. I do apologize for interrupting.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. So when I think about it, she's only been with Disney for 4 years, and if I had to choose, she probably would have been the CEO if they bought Fox earlier, and Bob Chapek would not have been the choice. I feel like she was the choice that was supposed to be, but never happened. And now I think the time has now come to pass the torch to her. Especially when I said like the company is now changing to. I feel like Disney. People say Disney is for kids. No, I think Disney is entertainment for all. Doesn't matter who you are in the family. If you're a sports guy, if you're just adult cartoons guy, if you're just, if you want superheroes, you want witches, you got everything within Disney, right? Anything you want.
Sexy witches, right?
Yeah, sexy witches. But you got everything, right? Especially when Hulu and FX and that side of business has been doing really well with Dana Walden in it. So she has now been integrated with Disney, but also has that outside perspective from Disney. And I like that, because a lot of people in the company, if you're too familiarized, you've been there too much, you don't like change. And I feel like she's been pushing change, especially on general entertainment for Disney, which is why they bought Hulu, the rest of the stake, which is why they've been pushing for more content from there. And you see the success. You see it from Shogun. You're seeing from The Bear. You're seeing from Only Murders in the Building. Those are successful shows from Disney. A lot of people tell me, what good shows did Disney made? And it's like, all the Hulu shows, like, oh, those are Disney? They don't even realize that's Disney. And it's like, and then a lot of the shows that people have seen Netflix, yeah, those are owned by Disney too. And it's like, you don't think that's Disney, but it is. And that's the future that Disney's going to have.
That's why I wish that people would separate the politics from the talent, because it becomes foggy with someone of how their attributes are to a company, as you had given some examples, Seymour, like with Dana Walden, with like the Fox projects that she was part of. A lot of people don't even focus on that because they just have a tunnel vision of looking at one thing. Oh, her political background. Well, it's like it should be the other way around. It should be the tunnel vision of like all her successes of what she is as an individual, but also as her job title. And it's like, so what, whatever her political actually, me growing up, it was to the fact of we really shouldn't even really know people's political background.
Well, and has her politics affected her ability, like you were saying, George? Like, has her politics affected her ability to do a good job? No. Like Seymour laid out, she's been doing great in her role, right? She did great under conservative Rupert Murdoch too. So, I mean, clearly, I get it. She's at Disney now, so Bob Iger's a big time lefty, or he's woke, right? But Rupert Murdoch isn't, and she worked just fine with him. So I get it. People don't like her politics, but it hasn't affected her job. And at the end of the day, that's all I care about. I think that's all we care about as Disney fans and investors and everything. You care about the job being done. I don't care who she fucking votes for. I got to be honest with you. I could care less. If she's doing a good job, she's doing a good job. You know what I'm saying? And, so yeah, it's wild, right, Seymour?
Yeah, I don't even think about like the politics of it at all. I'm like, if your background is good and you can do the work, then that's all I really care about.
Right, exactly. It's like, if, for example, on X, right, Elon is very political, which was funny because when Jack Dorsey was running Twitter, Elon said you need an owner who's neutral in order for the platform to be taken seriously. And then Elon comes in and he's just like, all on board like the Trump 2024 train, which is kind of funny. But the thing is that I wouldn't even care so much if he was political, openly political and what have you, if he was running the app good. If the app was running really well and it was better than it was before, who gives a shit who he votes for? But when you criticize Bob Iger for being woke and getting political, then you're getting political in your position and you're not even doing a good job. It's crazy to me.
And here's the thing. Why is Bob Iger being political on what?
Right.
What is Dana Walden being political on? Because she's friends with Kamala Harris? Is that it? She was friends with Kamala Harris when she was working at Fox. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cared. Why now?
They're Hollywood. They're always friends with the Democrats and the fuck. This is not a new thing, you guys, right? I mean, this is like a tale as old as time, right? To stay on brand. I mean, it's like, come on. They're always
even Donald
lefties.
Trump was friends with everyone in the Democrats.
Right. Exactly. But now it matters. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It hasn't affected her ability to do a good job. She's very competent, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, if she gets it though, just be prepared. The grifterverse will definitely take hold of that, and she'll be the next bad guy or bad gal. But let's pivot now to Universal, because Comcast actually had their earnings call not too long ago, just a few days ago. And Seymour, you actually brought this to my attention, so I just want to give you credit for that, sir. It looks here like Universal theme parks report decline in attendance and revenue. Executives are looking ahead with Epic Universe. Recent revenue for Universal's theme parks have declined for another quarter, parent company Comcast reported in its financial results for Q3. It says here in an earnings call, Comcast Chief Financial Officer Jason Armstrong says, quote, "Our view is there was both a pull forward of demand that we clearly saw in 2022 and 2023, which were record years for the theme parks and beyond our expectations, as well as the new attraction pipeline, which is light this year, but building towards a substantial pipeline next year." And then real quick, and then I'll go to you, Seymour. Despite the lower attendance and revenue, Comcast Chairman and CEO Brian Roberts noted the opening of Epic Universe in 2025. He said it will be the most ambitious and technologically sophisticated theme park ever created. And it says here that Mike Kavanaugh, Epic Universe will be the most groundbreaking park introduced in the U.S. Okay, so Seymour, we kind of talked a little bit about this pre-show, but what are your thoughts on this, right? Because we have Epic Universe opening in May. There's a pullback right now. For the last 2 quarters, there's been a pullback. What's your kind of summary and analysis of like what's going on here?
They're not doing good. I mean, like, here's the thing. there could have been a pullback because of the waiting for Epic Universe, but I think for me it's that interest rates are just getting too high, and now we're getting the effects of it. And COVID came in, so people rushed in forward, right? Revenge spending on vacation. So you've been stuck at home for so long. Now you going and you booked your tickets, you get your hotels to go to the parks, but I see a dramatic shift for Universal though, because fortunately they use adjusted EBITDA because they always have to adjust their numbers. Adjusted EBITDA, which is basically profits minus a few things. They don't want to put taxes and stuff. It's down 13.8% for parks. And then revenue is down 5.3%, meaning that people are spending less money at the parks. And they say it's because it's lower attendance at domestic parks and most likely Florida. And I've noticed that for Disney too, that the Florida parks are getting less attendance, and it's getting expensive too there. And it's not good, but I see a dramatic shift for Universal compared to that.
But what is so funny is that everyone has the attention on Disney. Like it's like, oh, numbers have declined, numbers have dropped, but it's like no one talks about the Universal side. So Universal is going through the same issues as Disney is right now.
Funny you should say that, because on Disney side, the numbers still went up for revenues for their last quarter. It was up 2%, while Universal was down. Profitability wise, it was down 3%, but with the experiences for the revenue, meaning that they actually went up, meaning people are still spending money even more, even with all this stuff that's happening with the interest rates going high. And I think that should be softening soon, because now you're seeing the Fed cutting down little by little. They just did a 50 basis point cut, so you should see the effects, but there's a lagger. So you'll see in a couple of months, and I'm sure Universal is going to contribute that to Epic Universe being successful. But you should see that for Disney as well, an uptick, because now interest rates are coming down, everything's going to get a little bit cheaper. People are going to take their money out of their savings account and they're willing to spend again, which is crazy because people are willing to spend now. Imagine if now that the other people that's been holding off, they're going to spend.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. What say you, George? Go ahead, brother.
It's going to be very interesting. I'm actually going to be there. Grand opening at Epic Universe, which again was not planned, but I'm very curious to see how well the or lack thereof of operations goes, as far as like how people are like purchasing and everything, because I'm gonna be watching all that stuff, even though I'm gonna be enjoying myself and want to experience the new park. But I'm gonna be very curious to see how well it's proceed, because what was funny is the day that I called to book the Universal package, I was only on hold for 7 minutes and everything was completed within 15 minutes. And you would think that with something as anticipating as Epic Universe, I would have been on the phone for hours waiting to get through. So it makes me wonder. Now, I know you could probably take that with a grain of salt, but I'm curious to see really how busy it is going to be for those first few days.
Now, to be fair, I think Brian Roberts did say that the early demand for Epic has been strong. But I mean, that's an interesting observation, though, and anecdotally, obviously, right? But that is interesting that there wasn't a whole lot of hold time, because you'd wait longer to get Oogie Boogie Bash tickets, probably.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So that's interesting. And I don't know if that's attributed to just the fact that Universal has a customer service A game, and they're just cranking those phone calls out and doing a good job, or if it means there is a little bit of a demand issue.
And it's also, I'm very curious to see how the other two parks are going to be within operations, because if Epic Universe is going to be solidly packed for the first, well, it's going to be packed for quite some time, but I mean, like, especially like the first week, I'm curious to see how much that people are really going to be going to the other parks, which is why they probably had to do that deal of, you buy like a minimum of 2 or 3 days, you get an extra day for Epic Universe, kind of not free, but in logic terms.
Yeah, and I've been saying that for a long time, that the cannibalization of Universal's parks are going to be a problem for Universal, and a lot of people really kind of, poo-pooed that idea. No, it's just gonna destroy Disney, or it's gonna hurt Disney only, and it's like, it might hurt Disney. I don't know. I mean, I'm not clairvoyant. I can't predict the future, but it's common sense to think that, like, okay, you have these other two parks, which they've invested in those other two parks, but not a whole lot. You got things here and there. The last big thing, though, was a decade ago with Diagon Alley. But you've had little things like the DreamWorks area, and you've had Velocicoaster, which is popular, but no major expansions. So it's kind of been there, done that with the other two parks. Epic is the new shiny thing that everyone really wants to go to. So it's like, okay, and I already see it. I see it on social media. People complaining that they have to buy these packages just to go to Epic Universe. That kind of shows you where people are at with this. They don't want the other two. They want to just go to Epic. They want Epic a la carte, basically, right? Yeah. And it's like that doesn't bode well for it. Bodes well for Epic Universe as a park and that park's attendance,
but as a resort,
and that's the whole thing. That's the whole point of all of this. It's not about making sure Epic Universe hits good numbers. It's about adding Epic Universe and making Universal a longer vacation stay. That's the point. So if you have excellent Epic Universe numbers, but the other two fall off, and you're not getting, another day at Universal, well, is the park successful then? I mean, that's questionable, because the point of it is to add a day to your Universal vacation. So, and that's all big question marks. I'm not saying definitively that it's not going to pan out like that. I don't know, but I feel like we're seeing Universal is concerned about that by what they're doing. Their actions are telling you, yes, they are concerned.
And it's like, for instance, like when we go down in May, we only have one day at Epic Universe. If I just to say wanted to have 2 days at Epic Universe, I can't just buy an individual ticket. I would have to, because I believe that's for the individuals. It's for annual pass holders who are already utilizing their pass. They can buy like the, as you call it, OG, the Epic Universe a la carte. But if I wanted to have another day at Epic Universe, I would then have to buy another whole set of tickets for the studios and IOA.
Right.
Just to get that one extra day of Epic Universe.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is that we're starting to see the ugly reality of high demand, right? Like everyone wants to go to Epic Universe, so Universal has to make the tough decisions to mitigate demand somehow and to balance all this stuff out, right? People get on Disney when, I don't like the reservation system and I don't like this and that. It's like, okay, a lot of us don't like that stuff, but when you have the demand that Disney Parks has, you have to figure it out to mitigate. There has to be some sort of barrier to entry. Like I said so many times, you can't have super cheap tickets, no reservations, and then go into the park and expect no lines. Like you have to give up something. And we're seeing that now with Universal. Like, okay, they're seeing Epic Universe, people want to go there, but they have to do something to mitigate the cannibalization of the other two. You have to mitigate, how many, obviously this park can only fit so many people. You have to have that barrier, and it's not just unlimited. Go ahead, Seymour. I apologize, brother.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say I was concerned about that because of the cannibalization of Epic Universe, because you have a max attendance for that, and is the drop off from the following months to Epic Universe going to be worth it for the attendance that's coming in to Epic Universe? Because like you're seeing now, right? You're seeing the revenues going down. You're seeing the profitability going down. And people are spending less money months over months. And when we get closer to Epic Universe, this is probably going to go down even more. And will that be worth it? What will since you have a max attendance? Well, even if you had a max people coming in, right? Is it worth it? Like, because after a few months, and it's going to wear down, right? Maybe longer. But, the excitement will wear down, and then it will go back to normal as business. And then you realize that loss, that excitement, was it worth it? That's what I'm a little worried about, because you can see the money going down for this park. In the long run, it's going to be good. But in the short term, I'm a little worried about that.
Yeah, that's a great point, Seymour, because like you were saying, if the lead up quarter after quarter after quarter, is losses or in week, all these quarters going into Epic. Epic has more of a burden to bear, right? Like it has to do even better to make a bigger dent. So the more loss you have leading up to it, the more Epic Universe has to like offset those losses.
Pick up the slack.
Exactly. It's kind of like your bank account, right? I mean, if you're going into payday, overdrafting every day, like your paycheck ain't gonna matter as much. Like by the time you get to payday, you half of your paycheck is gone just paying the overdraft, right? So that's kind of like what Seymour was saying, and I think that's a great point. I mean, it's crazy. Go ahead.
And I also think this is also good news for Disney, because if Epic Universe does too well and everything's all sold out, where do you go? You go to Disney. So I feel like, because you have a max attendance, there's only a certain amount of people you can have in the parks. And, unfortunately, that's the truth. A lot of people complain, like you said, long lines and stuff. If it's that successful, people are looking at tickets and they're like, I can't go to Epic Universe. Okay, I'll fine. I'll go to Disney World instead. And I think it will help Disney in the long run. I think they will help each other.
That's a great point. Yeah, because if they can't get into Epic, they're like, well, okay, well then I guess we'll go to Disney. I guess we'll do Animal Kingdom that day or something.
Yeah, kind of like how in Disneyland and Super Nintendo World, right? How they helped each other. You saw an increase because both were coming into California, and they went to both parks.
Yeah, well, and that's fascinating you brought that up, Seymour, because we were like in the theme park community, there was a lot of talk about how just wait till Mario moves into Hollywood, Disneyland's going to take a hit, and Disneyland never took a hit. And like you were saying, it actually helped, I think, Disney, right? Because when people come to California to experience Mario, well, you're in California. Like for example, Seymour, if you're a Canadian, right? If you're coming to California to experience Mario, well, you're probably going to visit Disneyland and some other California stuff. Like you're not just going to go for Hollywood.
Oh yeah, definitely. Even in Japan, right? I'm not just going to go to Universal. I'm going to go to Tokyo Disney. I'm going to go to all like the sushi places, not just one place and that's it. Right? I'm going to go everywhere. So Universal, Disney, all the fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly. We still got to plan that Japan trip, bro. Dude, we got to go. That'd be so much fun. I want to explore Tokyo. I want to do it all. That'd be a lot of fun. But gentlemen, fantastic.
Oh, wait.
Oh, go ahead.
Do you want to talk about the media side of Comcast a little bit as well?
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that. Hold on one second. Thank you for reminding me, actually, brother. I totally forgot. 1 second. Let me get.
I know we like to talk about theme parks, but there's some media side for Comcast as well.
Absolutely, and I'd like to report on both. I'm gonna pull this up, and
yeah, you can just scroll down to like content and experiences.
Okay, I got you. Oh, hold on one second. There we go. All right, brother. The floor is all yours, sir.
Oh yeah. I just wanted to pinpoint like the media side in the studios and how like their profitability for movies actually going down. No, sorry. For movies going up 9% because Despicable Me 4 and Twisters, but media side, right? The networks and everything is going down 10%. Even though Peacock in the studios, they had Olympics. And in their report, they were talking about, Peacock did really well because of Olympics, but they're still making a loss. They're not profitable yet. And I hear a lot of people talking about, Disney Plus, Hulu, direct-to-consumer side of Disney is a failure. They had to buy Hulu. They had to do this. All mumbo jumbo, word salad, telling me that, they're terrible, even though they're the third biggest streaming company in the world. But anyways, under Netflix and YouTube. But this is bad. This is really bad to see. Even with Olympics at the peak, you're still at a loss. And now imagine you take the Olympics away. They're not going to do well.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. You're right. Without the Olympics, what are they going to do? What's the next quarter going to look like, right?
In Nielsen, they reported, for just U.S. though, in Nielsen, they reported the months without the Olympics. And now you see Walt Disney number 1, YouTube number 2, and then, Peacock's under there with Netflix. And it's like, well, that's not good. Because now it's just going down again.
So Disney surpassed YouTube?
Yeah, and all content for television.
But I was told that Disney is a failure in the streaming game, Seymour. How is that possible?
I don't know. The numbers speak for themselves.
The numbers have a pixie duster bias, I guess. I don't know what that. Yeah. No, in all seriousness, like that's absolutely wild. Yeah, if the Olympics, man, if the Olympics ain't doing it for you, I don't know what's going to happen with that. I mean, Peacock is really a struggling service. I don't know. I think Comcast really needs to take another look at that streaming service and kind of figure something out, because it really hasn't ever taken off. It's been struggling. Go ahead, brother.
Well, but I just wanted to show, like, even for studios, and when you look at the movies, right, their profitability right now, again, they're using adjusted EBITDA because they like to adjust all the negative numbers out. It's actually only 468 million, not even $1 billion. We had $2 billion hits with Disney, and this is with Despicable Me 4 in this. This is not good. A lot of people talk about how Universal is doing really well, but that's their opinion on a movie they like, but not actually looking at the numbers and showing that people are not coming in and actually voting with their wallets.
Well, and another element in this earnings call was they announced that they're considering spinning off their cable division, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Seymour?
Yeah, and that's another move that like Warner Brothers wants to do as well, because they see the writing on the wall and they know that company's going to go down, and companies like to do that. Oh, let's spin off the cable division so we can give them all the debt that we made while trying to encourage, for streaming. They do that a lot. AT&T did that when they were losing so much money for HBO Max that they put all the debt to Warner Brothers Discovery, and they're like, "Oh, look at us, we don't have any more debt." Yeah, because you gave it all to them, and now Warner Brothers wants to do it again, and now Universal, and NBC wants to do it. Comcast, yeah, I mean, like, their business right now, is not doing bad. It's for cable and internet as for the cash flows, but it's been decreasing year by year, and the only way they've been, surviving is by price increases. But you're not adding anything different. And nobody wants to see these stuff anymore. They just have Netflix, YouTube, Disney Plus. That's all you need.
Yeah, and you mentioned this a while back, Seymour, where you were saying that the reason why, because fans get all caught up in this thing where Universal is like, expanding their parks because, they're doing fans a solid, basically, right? Like, yeah, they understand us, but you were talking about for a while now that Comcast is expanding their parks to offset the failing cable business and stuff like that. It's not that Universal is like, just wants to, randomly make fun experiences for the fans. They understand the necessity in this because their other business, their main business. I mean, Comcast is a cable company. I mean, their main business is circling the drains. They have to offset that somehow. They have to do the theme park thing. But the problem is that they're offsetting their main business, and even their theme park business right now is kind of, you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
that's why when people say, oh, when the parks are going down and you see the numbers dropping for Disney and what have you, and it's like, well, okay, but the studio's doing well. Well, it's like, well, who really cares about the studio? Well, the studio is the pinnacle part of what even structures the theme parks. So it's like for Universal, even though, yeah, it kind of offsets the fact of they're making revenue somewhere, but at the same time, if they happen to have a slow season or, something, just they still don't have nothing as a backup. Why? Because basically their whole entire way of the bread and butter starting off first and foremost was as a cable company. And who really gets cable anymore?
No, yeah, kids don't care about cable. Young people don't care about cable. They just don't. I'm not a young person. I don't care about cable.
No, and people are like, the next thing is 5G, and everyone's not even going to have internet at home, like wired. It's just going to be a SIM card, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. It's interesting to see. Go ahead, Seymour.
But I'm just worried about their streaming service, their Peacock. It's not doing well. I'm worried about Warner Brothers and their Max service as well. I see, like, in Nielsen, they have more subscribers than Disney, but then they're not on there as much as Disney, in the US at least.
Right.
You don't even see them charted, right? They're at the bottom of the list. Disney Plus and Hulu is at the top of the list. They're right under YouTube and Netflix. And I hear all the time they're failures, but yet the numbers don't show me that. But and the engagement, people are going on the platform much more than these smaller guys. And I'm a little scared. There might have to be a convergence of them. I heard rumors, Peacock's going to merge with Max, or Paramount and Max is going to merge. I hear a lot of these rumors coming in. It's because they can't survive.
Yeah, no, and that's why. That's why I was saying earlier too. Where you bring up a great point. Where it's like I think Comcast needs to kind of reevaluate the Peacock situation. They might have to do that, where they merge with Max or something like that, because
And I kind of see the writing on the wall when they're making deals with Netflix and licensing their content that would have been gone on Peacock. A lot of the DreamWorks as well. I see them doing that because they're now trying to make money outside of streaming because they're not making money off streaming.
Right. It's fascinating, and all that. I mean, look. I mean, this is the thing. Like Hulu. Look how good Hulu is doing, and that's Hannah Walden's. Hannah, George. You know what I have on my.
I know. I know why that name's on your mind, bro.
Dana Walden. That's her division. I mean, that's why people always talk about, why would they want Dana? Well, why? Because look at the results she's bringing into the company.
Yeah,
the quality's there, the numbers are there. Like, of course they're gonna have Dana.
Yeah, she came from Fox. All the stuff that on the Hulu side is from Fox, and that's the best person for a CEO to do right now, because of Disney becoming a company for everyone. I think that's the best direction. FX, Hulu, they've been tremendous. They have like over 22 Emmys they won. So many shows doing well. I'm sure George can vouch for me that The Only Murders in the Building is an amazing show. That's a Disney original.
It is. It's a phenomenal show. For anyone who hasn't seen Only Murders in the Building, definitely check it out from the very beginning, because it is a very in-depth, intriguing show, and it's one of those shows that it's just like you crave for more. It's like you want to know what happens next, and it's like even when they kind of leave it off a little bit of a cliffhanger at the end of the season, it's like, okay, hopefully we're getting a next season, But I mean, Steve Martin Short, the beautiful Selena Gomez. I mean, come on, they're like a triple threat.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it yet, to be honest with you, but I've heard nothing but good things. I got to get on that. I got to watch it. Absolutely.
And then when you look at Netflix and their hit TV shows, they're not made by Netflix. They're licensed.
Right.
Disney's doing a really good job. And, I'm scared for these companies, though, with their streaming services. Amazon and Apple, they don't care if they're losing money. They can just spend money just so the competition can die.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it, Seymour.
That's kind of why Disney was trying to merge with Warner Brothers and Fox for that sports company, because they know that Amazon and Apple can just like, here you go, here's a nice blank check, write whatever you want. We'll get you soccer, we get NFL, we get everything. Disney can't do that. They're not that big, so they're worried about that. But they're in dispute with Fubo and Court. And I don't know, Fubo is relying on the backs of those companies, ironically, but I don't know, why would you go to court for the companies that you're making money off of? But okay.
Exactly. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Fascinating conversation today. A lot of good stuff. Disney CEO stuff. We got some Comcast in there. It was a good conversation. Seymour, it is always a pleasure having you on, sir. If you can just remind everybody again where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, you can find me on all social media platforms except for Blue Sky at Mr. Seymour Duck, and for Blue Sky at MrDuck.social.
There he is. Make sure you follow this man. Fascinating analysis in the financial world, Disney. Really fun, obviously brilliant and very, very fun guy, Mr. Seymour Duck. So make sure you follow and support him.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And the Italiano with the chest hair. Where can they find you on social media?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There it is. Everybody comment down below with everything on your mind in regards to Disney succession? Who do you think should get the job? You know, Dana or Josh or Tom Staggs? You know, we'd love to hear from you down below. Universal's or Comcast's earnings call with the parks and all that. What are your thoughts on that? We would love to hear from you. Until the next time, everybody, have a fantastic, fantastic day. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you aren't already, consider becoming a member today.